Hello everyone, I'm Benjamin Contreras, and welcome back to another episode of Jasper Cat Productions, and I'm back with another video in my series of Xbox 360 reviews. And like I said in my previous video, if you guys saw it, the reason why this video took so long is because I had to make a lot more progress in the game before I felt like I could do a legitimate review of it. And that game is the original Bioshock. As you can tell, I don't have an official case for it. Yeah, there it is right there. Now, for those of you who have actually played this game, you would know that the story in Bioshock is very complicated, to say the least. There's a lot of segments in the game where they want you to listen to like conversations and learning about the history of this this world that your character's currently in. And I'm not really playing the game for that reason. I'm playing the game to legitimately play the game. So this video is not really going to be a sort of analysis on the kind of message or morals that Bioshock is trying to tell. So this is more of a quote-unquote first impressions kind of review, and not like a legit review. But if you are searching for a review like that, then there are tons of other YouTubers who have reviewed this game and have done probably a much better job with it than I really ever could. But if you're here because you want to know how I feel about the gameplay, then let's talk about that. The game is played in the style of a first-person shooter. You're always looking through the eyes of your main character, who is pretty much meant to be a representation of yourself, seeing as your character doesn't speak and doesn't really do much of sort of interaction with any of the other major characters. That's pretty much up for you to decide. Now, for the most part, I want to say two types of gameplay. There's exploring the world and attacking all the enemies that are trying to kill you, and also puzzle solving. The type of things you can do while exploring your world is actually quite a bit, as you have essentially two types of weapons. You have regular firearms, which include handguns, machine guns, shotguns, a wrench for close-range combat, and a camera, which is used for taking pictures of certain enemies to progress through the game. And then you have these things that I believe they're referred to as plasmids, but I'm just going to call it magic because that's essentially what it is. They're basically there are different kinds of elements like fire, electricity, telekinesis, and you can use these to infect your environment and affect the enemies. For example, if you guys have ever played Skyrim, there's these areas on the floor. I guess it's like some sort of gasoline that has gotten spilled, and you can use your fire to burn it as an easier way of taking care of enemies. Another thing that you can do is that if there's ever any sort of body of water on the floor, you can use electricity to make it spread all across the water and deal with enemies that way. So I think that's really cool, and they're also not only used for attacking, but sometimes they're also used for puzzle solving and level progression. For example, you might have to use fire to melt an area that's blocked up by ice. Now, the major thing you're going to be doing in, well, there's, so those are the things you can do while on the overworld. But another thing you can do is that whenever there are, I guess, quote-unquote robotic kind of enemies, like you'll see at certain points these attack drones that try and shoot you, or things like gun turrets or rocket launchers, things like that. You can electrocute them, and then you'll have an option to hack them. And once you do, you are taken to a mini game where you have to make this I guess you can call it this sort of liquid that I suppose is inside the machine, and get it from one area to the other by creating a path with pipes. And you're also on a quote-unquote time limit, so, and if you're able to successfully do so, you're able to make those gun turrets and attack drones fight for you. Of course, it's only for a certain period of time, because they have their own health bars and they can die rather easily, as can you, especially near the beginning of the game. And that's actually one of my favorite things to do in the game. The sort of hacking minigame is probably one of the major things that I really enjoyed about it. Now, let's talk about essentially what your main goal is, at least at the beginning of the game. What you're doing is that you're exploring this world, and you'll come across these giant, I don't want to call them robots, because I'm pretty sure they most likely aren't robots, but basically these giant beasts that look like they're wearing old scuba diver outfits, and all of them are accompanied by a girl. And this girl, I suppose, is in some way, I don't want to say possessed, because that's probably not the official term, but basically the first thing that you're doing is that you have to kill the giant figures. Are called Big Daddies, by the way. That's their official nickname, which I think is pretty funny. So you destroy the Big Daddy, and then you get an option to either take away the possession from the girl, or, as the game calls, harvesting it, which essentially means that you either, it's sort of, if you've ever played Undertale before, it's sort of similar to that. You have an option to either spare them or kill them. And I guess that's a sort of way to put some form of morality. Basically, do you want to just kill all of them? I don't really know why you would want to, though. Or do you want to spare all of them? And doing so will most likely give you a different ending once you beat the game. And if you're trying to do so, it's going to be very difficult, because once you attack the Big Daddies, they just come out full force at you. They'll either try their weapons, which can do a lot of damage to you, especially at the beginning of the game, where you pretty much have no real way of defending yourself aside from the weapons. But even then, if you're ever out of ammo, which is very easy to do so, you're gonna be dying by these guys a lot. But luckily, the game has a sort of checkpoint system, and usually they're very close to where one of the Big Daddies are. And whenever you die and you took a lot of health away from the Big Daddy that you were fighting, they keep that same amount of health. So I sort of found myself just constantly throwing myself at them until they eventually fell over. Which, while that might seem fine, I still kind of find that to be kind of poor game design. And killing these big daddies are the only ways that you can essentially level up. In various areas there are these machines that allow you to do things like increase your health, increase, I guess you could say, your mana to let you cast magic more often, give you extra defense, let you carry more types of magic, and in order to get the experience points to do so, you have to save these girls. So eventually you are going to have to find yourself just constantly attacking, then dying, then attacking, then dying, over and over again until eventually the big daddy dies, you get the experience points, then you go to level up and pretty much do it again. And not only can the big daddies do a lot of harm to you, but the regular enemies that you fight can do a lot of damage to you as well. And another thing that's similar to Skyrim is that you're able to search the character's body and you're able to get things like money, which you could spend at these little, I guess, quote-unquote shop areas where you can buy things like med packs to heal you, or things that can help increase or regenerate your magic, or you can also use it to buy bullets for your weapons. But you can also get bullets from enemies themselves, so in order to save money, I would recommend that you don't waste it on bullets, and instead just save it all for things like med packs, because you're going to have to do a lot of healing if you intend to survive. And you'll find yourself with a lot of ammo that you got from enemies anyway, so buying bullets from the quote-unquote shops is really kind of pointless. And one of the major flaws I feel about the game is, while this is that despite the fact that the areas that you explore look very desolate and creepy, it gets you into that sort of mood, like it's similarly to what you'd see in a survival horror game like Amnesia, or I guess in my case, Slender the Arrival. But while the areas do a good job of representing that style, many of the areas look very similar to each other. And I found myself going back and forth between areas because there are just some things that I feel like aren't explained that entirely well. You do have a map, which is helpful, but I think there are times where I do feel like I am sort of lost, and whenever I'm not lost and I do know where I'm going, is because of the arrow that's on the top of the screen telling you pretty much where to go next. I'm not sure if that's because I wasn't on one of the harder difficulties. I spent most of the game on normal, and there would be times where the arrow is there, and there are also some points where it isn't there, which can make a few, I guess you could say, quests drag on quite a bit. To give you guys an example, currently I'm on a mission where I have to use the camera and take pictures of 3 of these